Hello, so in this lab, or this video, I'm going to be showing you how to use these calipers that we use to measure very precisely the size of things. So in this pair of calipers, you can see that I've got it around an eraser, and so to measure the length of the eraser, just imagine that it didn't move a lot as I move the eraser out. So I want to measure the width of this eraser. Now you can see that we've got inches down here, an inch scale here, and then up here we've got fractions of a millimeter. Generally we're going to use the metric system, so we're going to use the millimeters up here. So I put the jaws around the eraser, and now I want to measure this as accurately as possible. So if I bring this up here, you can see that the line that measures the millimeter is right here on this movable scale, this solid white line up here. Now you can see, if you look carefully, that right now it's at about 29 millimeters, if you look really carefully at this, and this white line is actually a little bit past the 29th millimeter line. So we can expect that this measurement, in terms of millimeters, is going to be 29 point something. And the question is, what is that something? And this is, of course, we always want our units, so millimeters. So it's 29 point something millimeters. So how do we detect, or how do we determine what that first decimal place is? And that's where you come and look really carefully at the two sets of lines here. You can see that there's a set of lines up here that designates the fraction of a millimeter, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 millimeters. So we've got 29 point something, and the question is, what is that last digit? And what you're looking for here is where this set of lines up here lines up with the set of lines down here. So you want to look for where they're synced up. If you look really carefully at this, let me see if I can focus this. You can see that we are at a little bit past the 29th millimeter mark. And if you look at these sets of lines, you can see that they are offset pretty much everywhere. So here, this line is not quite lined up with that line. This line is not quite lined up with that line. But they are lined up in one particular place, and it looks, in this case, like it's at the 3. So that means that the next digit is a 3. Okay. So that's how you measure to the nearest fraction of a millimeter. For example, if our length was something like this, right? Now it looks like we're at 21 to 3 point something. So now we're at 23 point something millimeters. And how do we tell what that something is? 23 point, well, we look for where these two sets of lines sync up. And in this case, it looks like it's again at 3. So it's 23.3. Right? We can try a different measurement like this, right? Here we are just shy of the, looks like, 37 millimeter mark, so it's 36 point something. Right, so here we have 36 point something millimeters. And what is that something? So again, we look for where the two lines sync up. So in this case, you can see that it's almost 37, so it should be 36.8 or 9 or something. And if we look over here, that's where it does line up. It's about the 9, probably even just shy of the 0. So this is basically 36.9 millimeters, if not a little bit more. So that's how you can tell to the nearest tenth of a millimeter. You're looking for where the two sets of lines sync up, and that's your tenth of a millimeter number displayed on this top dial. Another thing that's good to know about these is if you want to measure the inner diameter of something, reading it is the same, but if I wanted to measure, say, the inner diameter of this terminal, I can put the jaws in here, the back jaws. You can say I kind of put them in there, and that represents the inner diameter of this battery terminal. So again, I can read this, and it looks like it's 4 millimeters plus something. So it looks like they line up at 2, so that's 4.2 millimeters, right? So it's good to try a few different measurements and make sure you know how to read these calipers. You can also use it to measure a depth. So you can see that this bottom of the caliper points out. So if I wanted to know the depth of, say, the thickness of this eraser, I could just put it next to it and go down until I hit the paper, and then that is the thickness of the eraser, and I can measure that here. Right, it's the same display. So you can use this to measure, for example, if you have a bolt hole and you want to measure how deep it is, you can just stick this in there and then read it off here, and then that will give you the depth of the hole. So that's basically how you use these calipers. Oftentimes you see digital versions of these calipers, but we like to use these analog ones in the lab because they never run out of batteries and they're nice and reliable.